Good morning, 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 AKA. Good morning. This is the day that ooh. Let me do this right quick. I'm gonna go off camera, but I'm coming right back. Well, I'm not. I'm just gonna do this. Oh, oh my. Oh, all right. Red. Okay, now I am back. Good morning. Good morning. How are you this morning? My beautiful sister, how are you this morning? This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and I will be glad in it. How are you this morning? Are you are you taking time out for yourself? You got errands to run today? This morning it's cloudy here, so it's that time of year again here in Florida. Tis the season. It is rainy season here. We are in the season of it's hurricane season from May 1st to November 1st. So we're gonna have some sunny days and rainy days and tropical storm days and prayerfully, Lord, not a hurricane this year. However, if that's the Lord's will, it's going to be what it's going to be. I have another doctor appointment at 8. Have to go to my mom. Oh, okay. Okay. Yesterday I was on, right? And I felt so good yesterday. I well, the first part of the day I did, and the rest of the day I was just going through the motions. And around 9 o'clock, 10 after 9 to be exact, I get a phone call, and it was from my daughter. And I know anytime she calls me from work at that time in the middle of a work day, I don't know why the message. I start learning to appreciate the rain. Yeah, me too. Because it's going to be anyway. And during the summertime, the lawns here need the water because where I live it's a water restriction, and they have a time limit where they can water their yards a certain time in the morning and a certain time in the evening. And I don't understand how uh a place could be surrounded by bodies of water and they talk about it's a shortage of water. I could never understand that. But that's what they say. I like the rain too because it cleans away the dust and the pollen, and it just washes away things. And I could sleep really, really good when it's raining. Believe it or not, during the hurricane, I slept during most of the hurricane because the wind. Well, it really didn't rain. It was just the wind with the hurricane. Yeah. So, yeah, as I was saying, my daughter had called me yesterday. And the moment I saw that phone call, I just knew something was wrong. I just knew something was wrong. And when I connected the call, I didn't even say hello. I say, what's wrong? What did happen now? you know, it's like just, oh, what done happened now? And this thing blew me so bad. And I'm still reeling from it. Got news yesterday that one of our dear friends passed away or not on her birthday, but while she was on vacation. And that thing just blew me because Tammy was young. Tammy was 55 years old. And she had just retired from the police. She was supervisor of the dispatchers or whatever, the people that do the 911 calls and stuff like that. And that thing just blew me. And when she called and she said, "Ma," I said, "What done happened now? What's wrong?" She said, "Ma, Tammy died this morning." I said, "Tammy, Tammy? Our Tammy?" She said, "Yeah, Ma, Tammy, Tammy, our Tammy." And even though I'm saying it this morning, I still can't believe it. And I had to go back and look at pictures of Tammy. And she said, "Ma, she looked it so good." She said, "The last time I saw her, she looked it so good." And she came and she hugged me. And she said, "Now I got to call Jordan and tell Jordan." Because Jordan always thought Miss Tammy was, she always called her Miss Tammy. She always said Miss Tammy. And she said, she said, "Tammy died." She said, "Now I gotta call Jordan and tell Jordan Miss Tammy dead." And when I first began this Christian journey, this walk, Tammy was the first person that encouraged me. Um, she was she was my friend. She was my friend. Tammy was that friend. I mean, she was goofy. She was beautiful. Had a beautiful spirit. She was, she was nice. She was humble. And I love Tammy because Tammy loved my children, loved my daughter. And it was a time that me and Tammy didn't talk, but that she didn't let that stop her from still reaching out to my daughter when my daughter was in college. And if my daughter called her and said, "Tammy, I need Miss Tammy, I need this, Miss Tammy," and it wasn't a problem for Miss Tammy to extend her hand and give my daughter what she needed while she was in college. And when Verena got pregnant and she was ashamed to go back to church, Tammy was that person. Tammy and Reverend Wilson and a couple of other people that she looked up to, that she felt so embarrassed and ashamed because she was in college and she got pregnant and she hid from them. She tried to hide from them, but they made their, however, Reverend Wilson called her in the mall and Tammy stopped by the house, to encourage her to come back to church. And when I heard that yesterday, it just, oh my God, it just blew me away. And I was just staring at her pictures. And when Tammy got sick, she had the cancer, and Verena was her nurse. And she was saying, "Well, I'm glad you're here. I feel much better now. I feel like I'm gonna be all right because you're taking care of me." And I get the news about Tammy, and I have yet to call Miss Florida about her husband. His funeral is Friday. I have yet to call her, and I don't. And every time I think about it, I say, "Well, I need to call Miss Florida." I haven't did it yet, and I need to call Miss Florida sometime before the funeral. I need to call Miss Florida. So that hit me yesterday, and I mean, it was like I was so full of joy yesterday, so full of hope yesterday. And when my daughter told me that, that just like blew me. Um it's like it bust my bubble. I was deflated. You know, I just it's not like I can't I just couldn't focus right then. And so, I am that person that say, well, what happened? Well, why? And so Verena go, well, Mama, I don't know what happened. I'm just calling you to let you know Miss Tammy passed away yesterday morning. And I said, okay, all right. I said, and I asked her how was she doing. She said, I'm okay. She said, Ma, I don't know. I don't know. I'm okay. I said, well, call me when you have a time. She said, well, I call you on my lunch break. And when she called me, I asked her how she called me. I said, well, how are you doing? She said, Ma, I have my moments, I done cried, and she said, I didn't know Miss Tammy was that sick, that she had been to look at her, you wouldn't think that she was, but she had a heart attack. At 55 years old, she had a heart attack. Had been in the hospital just been in the hospital a couple of times in the last 3 months. And I'm just thankful that God took her doing what she liked to do. Tammy loved to travel. I don't know. Tammy been a lot of places. Her and her husband they've been a lot of places. And she wasn't letting whatever was going on with her, she wasn't going to let that affect her. So, we have to live a life of gratitude and we have to keep going. But it just blew me yesterday. And then we have a thing on at church. Our pastor try to keep us connected in all type of ways, we on Zoom, we on this thing called Band. We stay connected. We have a Facebook group. And if you don't see it on Band, you'll see it on Facebook. And then a message come up, excuse me, pray for the family of Mother Betty Patterson. What the hell done happened now? That Miss Betty done passed. Miss Betty Patterson done passed away. She passed away yesterday as well. And I'm saying, oh, this is too much for me, Lord. This is just too much. And it just it had me in a space of Miss Florida husband, then Tammy, and Miss Betty. And I don't ask God, what's next? What's next, God? What's next? I'm not asking God that. Because surely as you live, there was a day that you were born. There was a day and a time that you were born. And there's going to be a day and a time that you leave this world. And what you do in the meantime, because on those headstones, it has January October 1957 dash whatever date that I pass away. That dash represent your life and everything that transpired in your life, everything that went on in your life. So you have to live a life that's not only pleasing to God, that's pleasing to God, but you got to live life and just do not exist. And I was thinking about that yesterday, and I was just in the house because I was just blown away. I really couldn't do anything. I couldn't function yesterday. I really could not function yesterday, and I was just so perplexed. And I was thinking about, because she's from when I say a close knit family, I mean, that is a close knit family. And when they pull you in, and if they love you, they love you. And it was just, oh. And I started thinking, I was telling Verena and her sister, they're friends because they all grew up in the church together. And she said, Mom, she's not doing good. She just not understanding. And the brother is like wh- what, like what? And the children, she have two adult children, and the daughter, um, nobody is coping with this. Nobody is coping. And her mom, and I told Verena, I said, you know, Verena, my heart goes out to her mom. Me being a mom, I can't understand how she feel because my children still here. My child, my oldest child, all my children still here and in somewhat good health, as far as I know. As far as I know. And Verena said, well, Ma, I hope this don't take her out because she's not in a good way herself. And nobody in this family is coping. Nobody. Nobody. And this just made me realize. And then when I heard about Miss Mother Betty, and I say, Lord, I don't know when and I don't know how. And I'm gonna be honest, usually when I hear about someone has passed away, I get scared as hell. I do. I get scared, and you know, I thought about that last night. I was in the bed, right, and I had propped all my because I got a bed full of pillows. I got about 8 pillows on my bed, right? Yeah, two, four, six. I got 8 pillows on my bed, and I propped them pillows up, and I said, "Lord, am I?" You know, you just all kind of stupid stuff be going through your head. Am I going to be next? You know, somebody in my family going to be next? You know what? So I had a relaxing sleep, thanking God for me and for my family, and it was just I just couldn't believe it. And then when you hear news like that, and I was on the phone with Carrie, and I was getting hungry, and I was getting ready to tell Carrie, "Look, girl, I'm hungry. I'll call you back, or we'll talk later. We'll talk some other time." And I was on the phone with her. I just lost my after I answered the call for my daughter, and my daughter told me what happened. I just lost my appetite, but my stomach was just growling. So I just went on, and I made spaghetti. So I just went on and ate some spaghetti. But and I started thinking, I said, this morning I woke up and I said, Lord, if I don't think about it, then maybe it's not true. If I don't think about it, maybe it's not true, but it's true. And my heart goes out to her mom. Oh, my heart goes out to her mom because I am a mother. Because I don't know how she feel. I can't imagine how she feel. And I was calling one friend, and when I called her, and she said, "Well, girl, I was just finna call you." And then I said, "Well, then you already." I said, "Well, then you already know this." She said, "Yeah, I already know." And we talked for a minute, and one of her cousin wife go to my church, and I text her and to make sure that they were okay, and her husband is not doing too good because they were close. They grew up together. You would think they were brothers and sisters because they grew up together, and he's not doing very very well. And one of her real good close friend also go to my church, and she's not doing well. And I thought about her, and I said, let me check on boss lady Kim to see how she doing. And she said, right now it's hard. I can't believe. She said, I just can't believe this right now. And said a little prayer for said a prayer for the whole family, because right now everybody is hurting. Everybody can't believe it, not asking why, but just cannot believe it right now. And so this morning, what I want to talk about is, even though this hurts, this is a part of life. This is a part of life. We live. Surely as you're born, there is going to come a day that you're no longer going to be here. And I am reconciling myself with that, because I'm gonna be honest, I used to be afraid of death. I didn't want to leave my family. I didn't want to leave Earth. I'm gonna be missing everything. I'm gonna be missing everything, and people gonna forget me. My children gonna forget me. People are not gonna remember me. And I used to hear people say, I think about my mama every day. I think about my daddy every day. And I'm saying, how could you think about, dead people like that every day? And so when my grandmother passed away, and my friend said, Retha, you not crying? You not doing anything? I said, right now, I can't cry. I can't do anything because why would I cry? Because Edna lived a life, man. Edna lived a good life. Edna was comfortable. Edna was content. And my grandma was, she was good. She was ready. She was ready. She was prepared. She was ready. And then when my dad died, it took me a minute. And when I say a minute, y'all, it took me like 7 years, really. After my dad passed away, it took me 7 years before I can really go to my mom's house. My mom would always come to my apartment, or whenever I went out to Lehigh, I would never go in the house. I wouldn't even go in the driveway because whenever I went to my dad, to my mom, to my parents' house, my dad would always be out in his yard. And for me not to see him out there in that yard, I couldn't take that. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take not hearing and me saying, hey old man, what you doing out here? You always in this old yard. And he said, nah, baby, don't step on the grass. Don't step on the grass. He be out there in his yard. He done made him a nice little where he replanted plants and stuff like that. And because he sold shrubbery to other people to do their yards and stuff. And where my mama lived, it's a rural area, and the rabbits come up and the raccoons, be walking all through your yard and stuff. So the rabbits will always be out there where my daddy at. And my daddy be out there smoking his ganja, and the rabbits and my daddy used to have conversations and stuff like that, seemed like. And I didn't want to not see that. I couldn't go out there and not see my dad in his yard or go in the house and his big coffee mug. He'll drink his coffee and leave the mug right there on the counter. And then I would say something about the mug being on the counter, and it was just hard. But after 7 years, that seventh year of not having my dad on Father's Day, because that's when my dad passed away. It was on Father's Day when my dad passed away. And for 7 years, I could not tell anybody happy father. I couldn't tell no man happy Father's Day. I could not do that. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel right because my dad is not here. So nobody, I'm just not saying it to nobody. And 7 years after, it was I went to my mom's house. Didn't think about it. When Father's Day would approach, get time for Father's Day, I would get physically sick. I couldn't function knowing that that Sunday was going to be Father's Day. And my family recognized that. And when I got into those moods and when I got to that dark place, they understood she's still mourning. And after 7 years, I went to church one morning, and it was to my pastor. I said, Happy Father's Day. And I realized I said Happy Father's Day, and I started to cry. And he said, What's wrong? I said, this is the first time I ever told anybody Happy Father's Day in 7 years because my father died on Father's Day. So my heart goes out to that family. My heart goes out to Vanessa about her mom, Mother Patterson. And I love Mother Patterson. Mother Patterson was funny and she was cute. I loved her hair. She had that silver hair. And it made me realize, you know, um, you have to live life regardless of what's going on. You have to live life, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the issues, regardless of what you're feeling. You still got to go on. Because I remember one time I told my mom, we went to a funeral together, and I told her, I said, if you die, I'm gonna die too. She said, no, you not. You gonna live. She said, I'm gonna be dead. You gonna live. And think, when you have a relationship with someone, and you know this person, you laugh with this person, you see this person cry, this person done told you their most, um, you know, she people done she had done told me some things that when I looked at her, it was no judgment, and she was that type of friend that would be there for you and she would be there with you. And I liked her because she would call me out. She held me accountable for things. And that's what I need in a person when they say we friends. I need a friend that can stand with me, stand for me, and stand against me sometimes. You wrong. You ain't doing nothing but faking right now. And when she told me that, and I looked at her and I rolled my eyes and she said, yeah, you faking. You faking. So I thought about it and I went back to her. I said, yeah, at that time I was faking. I was faking. So this morning, y'all, I am still, I, I'm still blown away. However, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice in it. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I have no heaven or hell to put her in. However, I do know that Tammy loved the Lord. I know she loved God. So my prayer and my hope is for both Tammy and Mother Betty Patterson and Miss Florida husband. Miss Florida husband was 94 years old. 94 years old. And I hope they are in heaven rejoicing. No more sorrow, no more pain, no more worrying about nothing. They good. We're down here. We're down here on this surface, on this little third planet, third, fourth planet from the sun. Still worrying about mortgage payments, still worrying about the price of eggs, still worrying about gas, the price of gas, still worried about, this stupid ass president, what we got, God forgive me for cursing. We're down here, and I pray to God, their soul is resting with Him. So this morning, I just want whatever life is throwing at you, catch it. Don't run away from it. Catch it and live life abundantly, because every day God wakes us up. Today was a promise. Today was not promised. God gave us this day. God gave us this day. So why waste the day on worrying about a situation you ain't got control over? Why worry about something that you have absolutely no control? God, even if you control it, if you can control it and do something about it, then don't worry about it. Do what it is that you got to do about it and go ahead on about your business, because this is the day. Do you understand? This morning somebody else getting a phone call telling them that somebody done passed away? All these isms and, backbiting and plotting and scheming against people. That's why I walked away from a lot of things. Walked away from a lot of things and a lot of people. It's right now. My ears don't even like to hear some of the stuff You know, when I first got in these YouTube streets, my ears was just itching, wanted to hear all that negative stuff. And you know, God has a time limit for everything. Everything that begins have an ending. Nothing goes on and on and on and on and on forever. Everything has an ending. There's a time for everything. And Ecclesiastics tells us that there's a time to live, there's a time to die. You know, it's a time we need to be still, and it's a time we need to move. There's a time for peace, and it's a time for war. So everything has a time limit. So in the meantime and in between time, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? That dash that's in between that tombstone, your birth date dash and the time that you pass away, what are you going to do? You didn't wake up to be mediocre this morning. You didn't wake up just to exist. Every morning that you wake up is a gift from God. That's why he called it the present. The presence. This day is a good day, even if it don't seem like it's a good. It is cloudy out. You know what? I see a silver lining. Even though it's cloudy, I still see a silver lining. Even though there's families that's hurting this morning. There's a silver lining in that she's not suffering anymore. And by her cousin being a registered nurse and her daughter being a registered nurse, and you know, they're telling her, be still. You got to take it easy. You can't be doing all of this, mom. You can't. Still, she knew what she could do and what she couldn't do. She didn't let that stop her. She still lived. That girl, Tammy, her husband loved to travel. And she was on vacation doing what she liked to do, be on vacation. Be on vacation. The pressures of life, we're going to have them. The trials, the tribulations, they're going to come. They are going to come. There's going to be some people that love you. There's going to be some people that's going to love to hate you. There's going to be some situations. We're going to have some issues. Life is going to be life in us so hard sometimes. Pressure. We're going to be under so much pressure sometimes. But we can't give up. We can't give in. We got to move past the pressure. When the pressure start coming down, we start building strength to lift that pressure off. And the way we get that pressure, start lifting that pressure off, is the battle. Where I'm telling you, I'm gonna always talk about God, because if it wasn't for the grace and mercies of God, the tender mercies and God being so gracious to me, I honestly don't know where I would be. I don't know what I would be doing if it wasn't for God keeping me and giving me the sense to recognize that it's not you, it's me that's doing this in you and for you. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I know if he bring me to the doorstep, he ain't gonna leave me because he done told me. So after I was feeling all of this yesterday, and I was in the house, and I look out the window, and I was just, you know, like you be in a you don't know what to do. Don't know. TV not, I'm not enjoying the TV no more. I didn't listen to any of my stories yesterday because I have this pocket radio where I listen to different stories. And Kara had sent me the coldest winter. I didn't even listen. I didn't listen to nothing yesterday because I felt so defeated. You know, I felt so bad, and you know, and I just exist for a little minute there. And as good as I felt yesterday morning, and as happy happy as I was and as joyous as I was yesterday, when I heard that news yesterday, it just put me in a place. It put me in a place. And then about 4 o'clock, I snapped out of it. I snapped out of it. I just went downstairs. I put on a pair of gym pants and went downstairs and sat outside, thought I'd just sit outside for a moment, watch the people watch me. And as I was leaving, one of my neighbors, she called me. She said, "Girl, I got something for you. You might like this." And then we walked downstairs. We went downstairs and sat down for a while. She was leaving, and people were coming in and going out, stopping, talking, and it boosts my spirits. And I know that I can't get in that place. I can't get it because it ain't nothing I could do about it now. It ain't nothing I could do about it ever. And I know, and I pray, and my prayer and my hope is that she better than I am. She is better than I am. She ain't gonna have no more pains, no more issues, no more situations. She ain't gonna have no more. I'm still here. Gonna have got some pain now. Got a situation. Life's still gonna be life in me. So that. Let me read. I will be in the bushes as well. Got to get ready for my appointment and take care of my mom. Ladies, do what you got to do. Um, I thank you for being here. I'm driving my daughter to the doctor's appointment. I will be in the bushes. I thank you, ladies, for even just showing up this morning. It just does something in my heart for my heart. And good morning. Good morning, Mimi. Good morning, Carrie. Good morning, AKA. And good morning to the people that's just listening. I miss all the mothers of my church, including my dear mother. They would always make a special note in the program on Christmas Day service. My cousin was born on Christmas as well. And thank you for saying that, AKA. Please make sure you hit the like. Make sure you like the video. Thank you for that. I appreciate good morning, Shanice. Good morning, Shirley. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And again, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice. I'm going to rejoice and be glad in it. I'm sad of her death, but I'm going to be rejoicing because in my heart, in my mind, you know, in my finite mind, I feel like Tammy, she was welcome home. She was welcome home. So Miss Betty, Mother Betty was welcome home. So, when Jesus was leaving his disciples, he said, "I'm going somewhere y'all can't go right now. I'm going to prepare a place for you. In my Father's house, there are many mansions, many mansions." So, I look at it like when somebody passed away and they are rooted in God, their mansion, God is prepared. A mansion is being prepared for all who believe and trust in God. And I always kid about, I always like joke about it. I say, well, God know what I like. So every day I wake up, God is still working on my mansion. He know how I want everything. He know how I want the furnishing. He know how I want everything. So when I come, everything will be just the way that I want it. So, I look at it like that. So we got to, regardless of what we're going through, we got to live a life of gratitude. We got to live a life of hope. We even when it don't look like we have anything to be hopeful or grateful for, we do. Because every morning God wakes us up, that's a chance, that's another chance to be right, to do right, and to get it right. The hurt is never going to disappear. It just get easier to bear and easier to cope and easier to deal with. When you get past the first Valentine's Day that they're not here, the first birthday they're not here, the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas, the first time they're not at the family reunion. You and for a long time, I hear people say, I kept, I still have my friend Wanda. I still have her phone number. I would not, delete her phone number. Yeah, I won't do that. That's my friend. Um, her like on Facebook, and there's some other things I still have. I won't. I can't delete it. I won't delete it. You know, um, because every now and then in February, I always think about Wanda because February was the month she passed away, and February was the month she was born in. And I always think about her. I always think about her. But in my thinking about her, it even going to church on Sunday sometime, and a lot of people who knew Wanda, and Wanda would always sit where the choir sat against the wall, and she would sit in the corner. And one of the ladies who sat by, she said, I can't even sit in that chair. She's like, oh, that's where she always sat. And when I heard this, because I had just talked to, I had saw her in church that Sunday, and we were just talking and laughing. And she said, when I grow up, I'm going to be just like you. And she had gave me a pair of pants that we had ordered some pants from Timu. And I got two pair of pants, and I gave one pair to somebody else, and she got two pair of pants, and she said, "You want them?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Girl," I said, "Girl, you know I always be wanting free stuff." And we started laughing, and she said, "You know, I'm gonna be just like you when I grow up." And we just laughed. And when I was going to my seat, and I looked back at her, and she was just laughing and smiling. But then I get a phone call again, 9 o'clock in the morning, telling me she passed away 5 o'clock in the morning. And when I walk in church for the first 6 months, and the first time I walked in church after her death and looked over there, expecting to see her, and she wasn't there. She wasn't there. However, I'm still here. I'm still here. And nobody can tell a person how long to grieve a person. You can't tell someone how to grieve. And I heard Regina King say, grief is love with nowhere to go. With you can't give it to anybody. That's that grief. Grief is you love this person, but what you gonna do with this love that you have for this person because they're no longer here. Nobody can tell you how long to grieve. I grieved my dad 7 years. 7 years I grieved my dad. And still to this day, sometimes I think about my dad, a song. My daddy liked Tupac. My daddy liked Tupac and Curtis Mayfield. My daddy smoked his ganja. My daddy was a hustler. My daddy liked to gamble. But my daddy was my daddy. And my daddy lived his life. And I figure, I say, now it's time, 7 years. Okay, Marie, this time you stop grieving and, start living, not just existing. It's time for you to start living. And when life is lifing and things come, because things are going to come, things are going to happen. We are not immune from things happening to us. But by God, however, by God's grace, his mercy. When you still here, that means you got to keep going, and you got to keep going, and you got to keep going, and you got to keep going. And I was telling my neighbor yesterday while we were sitting, and she said, "Girl, I got to get out of here. Cause I ain't been doing nothing but from my room to the kitchen, just eating up everything." I said, "Girl, I understand that." I said, I gotta do the same thing too. But yesterday I ate and I didn't even taste what I was eating. And I found myself roaming around in the kitchen trying to find something, not hungry. You know how you get there, you just, with me, I just start. Some people don't eat. I just start eating. I just start eating everything. Don't be hungry, but just be eating up everything. Just be eating up everything. So I made a conscious decision, you know, that I'm gonna live. I'm gonna live through this. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this with God's grace and with God's mercy. I'm gonna get through this. And I told Verena, I said, Lord, if I had a car, I would go over to Tammy's aunt house. And she said, Verena said, Ma, I can't go. I can't go. She said, not right now. She said, I can't go. She said, because she she said, Miss Tammy. And she just kept calling, she just kept calling Miss Tammy, Miss Tammy, Miss Tammy. So I I pray that she's good. I didn't she called yesterday. I love you, Ma. We always say we love each other. And that's another thing. Let me tell you something. In the word, it says you don't know the day, the time, nor the hour. That animosity that you're holding, that unforgiveness that you're holding, and being messy and being rude and being nasty to someone, let it go. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Because we don't know the day, nor the time, nor the hour, nor the place. We don't know how we're going to leave this earth. And I tell my daughter, I said, I don't want I don't want blood on my hands. I don't want no uncertainty left behind. I want everybody to know how I feel about them. And whatever I've wronged, whatever and whoever I wrong, I want to make it right. Because when they put that RIP, I want to rest. I want to rest. If some people passed away angry, some people passed away not forgiving someone, and some people holding on to unforgiveness, and the person dead, and the person is gone, and they still holding on to that anger. I don't want that. I want to be. I want a clear conscience, and I want clean hands, and I want my heart to be right. I want my heart to be right. So whoever I have to forgive, I forgive them. And I'm learning how to look past people, because you know what? People are just that. They're people. They're human beings. We make mistakes. And who am I not to forgive someone when every day I say a cuss word? Oh Lord, please forgive me for cursing. I have a bad thought. Oh Lord, please forgive me for thinking that. That is not a God. That is not a God. That is not of God. And I had to catch myself and say, oh Lord, please forgive me for that. I'm asking God all through the day, every day, to forgive me. So who am I not to forgive somebody their trespasses against me? I'm learning. And I have learned, people have done me bad. People done talked about me bad. People done me bad. I'm telling you. And when I had to learn how to let that go, let it go and let God, let God take care of it. Cause I got some living. I got some living to do. I got living to do. We was talking about that yesterday before you got that call. Yep. Yep. I got living to do. So in the mornings, when God wake you up, recognize that. Give God some honor. Give God some respect. Give God some reverence. You thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. Thank God for waking you up this morning. And then ask God for forgiveness for whatever you dreamed in your subconscious mind. Thank Ask God to forgive you for that. Ask God to forgive you for your thoughts, even in your dreams. I didn't even know that was a thing that I should do until my pastor said, yes, you have to do that. I said, well, I don't know what I'm dreaming. I can't even remember half of the stuff I dreamed. He said, Maritha, you even have to ask God for your dreams. Because sometime in your dreams, you could do some destructive things in your dreams. So you ask God for forgiveness. So I learned how to ask God in the mornings. Thank you, God, for waking me up first. And Lord, please forgive me whatever I was dreaming about, whatever I was thinking about. Because do you know how close we are to death when we're asleep? How some people die in their sleep, don't wake up the next day in their sleep, laying right next to their significant other, could be laying right next to your child. Because I had a neighbor just had a baby and had the baby on her chest. And her children was getting ready for school and they just thought she was asleep because she had just had a baby. And the baby being up, and that was one way, we put the baby on our chest and stuff like that. And they didn't bother her because they say, well, mama's asleep, we're going to go ahead on. And people were calling, she wasn't answering. When they found her, the baby was still on her chest, alive, but she was not. Passed away in her sleep. So that's why you say your prayers at night, thanking God for the end of a day. That's why when you wake up in the morning, you thank God to see another brand new day. That's why I say, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and I will be glad in it. I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. And I'm going to start living my life like, hey, I'm living my life like it's golden. I'm going to live a life of gratitude. I am going to live a life of gratitude. And you living a life of gratitude, it says living a life of gratitude means choosing to focus on your time, to focus your time and attention on what you appreciate. What do you appreciate? You got to find out what you appreciate. The goal is not to block out difficulties, but to approach those difficulties from a different perspective. We focus on our problems. Don't focus on the problem. Look at a different aspect of that problem. Because see, every problem we have, there's an answer and there's a solution to it. Have you ever seen where these mathematicians, these geniuses be this formula they be putting on the board, and they got to have about 10 chalkboards to put a math problem, but when they get to the end, they done answered that, they done already equated it and divided it and subtracted it and added it on, and then they done got their answer. For every problem, there is a solution. And the only way you're going to get that solution is stop focusing on the problem. You got to look at it from a different angle. You got to look at it from a different perspective. And then when you look at something from a different perspective, even when you're telling somebody about it, you're talking to somebody about your problem or issue that you have or a situation that you're in, and you're talking to them, and you're seeking their help, you're seeking their guidance, and they're talking to you and say, well, I don't see it like that. I don't see it like that. And they tell you how they see it. And then you say, well, you know what? I never thought about it like that. Well, I'm going to try it that way. And then that way works for you. You have to have a different outlook. And if you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to say something different. You're going to have to be different. You can't want change and be the same way. That don't work. That don't work. Nothing from nothing, leave nothing. And if nothing changes, nothing change. You're going to still be mediocre. You're going to wake up. You don't see no hope. You're going to be hopeless. And then people don't want to be around you when you wake up, don't see nothing good about nothing, always complaining. Oh, I say it's cloudy, but I see it. However, I do see a silver lining. So therefore, it's some good. Do you know good can all bad with some bad thing? There, even in bad is something good. Bad, even in a bad situation, there's some good that's gonna come out of it. Either you're gonna get the lesson that's that you need to get, or you're gonna repeat it, and you're gonna keep repeating it and keep repeating it until you get it right. And when you get it right, you're gonna kick yourself and you're gonna be angry at yourself because why it took me so long to get there? Why did it take me so long to get there? You have to allow others grace. Exactly. Exactly. The same grace God extend to me, I got to give that to other people. I have to give it to other people because who am I? Who am I? Not to. Who am I? We got to be open for criticism and perspective. How can we grow if we only want? You see, watch children, watch babies, watch little children. Watch little children. First, with a baby, you got to hold their bottle. And sometimes they'll be lazy and just let you hold that bottle. But when you say, here, I got something to do, and you prop that up and they start holding their own bottle, they start holding their own bottle. And then, you have things to do. You put them in a walker, they scoot around, or you put them on the floor, they scoot around. And after a while, a baby will get up. And no matter how many times that baby fall and bump his head, bump his knees, or whatever, he'll get up. He'll be wobbling, trying to stand up. And then he'll got the nerve to want to take a first step and then take that first step. And then he'll fall back down. He'll fall, but he'll get right back up. That's how life is. I don't care how many times life knock you down. Every day you get up, every morning, God don't pass you by and breathe on you. You gotta get up. You gotta when people say life is life, and sometimes you got to life back. Sometimes you got to life back and living a life of gratitude. Living your life of gratitude helps you notice that the little wins, like finding a parking spot close to the front of Target or Walmart, I'm telling you, that's a win. And I'm grateful for that because anytime I go to the store, when I had Ruby and I go to Walmart, I go to Target, I go anywhere. I said, Lord, please let me find me a parking slot up to the front so I don't have to do all that. I ain't got to walk go way in the boondocks. And then by the time I get in the store, I'm all sweaty and tired and stuff like that. And when I find a parking space up front, I don't even ask for a parking space up front no more, y'all. Because sometimes my knees be hurting me so bad and I be wanting to just ride around in the store. So I done figured out which stores and what time to go to a store that I know. Because whenever I go to Publix, I know Publix going to always have some carts. I don't care how busy it is. Publix still gonna have some carts for you to ride in. Now Walmart is another Walmart. That's something so totally different. And then when I go and I said, Lord, please let me find me something to ride in when I get to Walmart. And then they go one over there in that side of the parking lot, one over there in that parking lot. And I say, stop. I stop Ruben. I jump out the car so fast and get me one of them cars and be riding. La. I'm grateful for that. Because that day I don't feel like doing all that walking in Walmart. I don't feel like doing all that walking in Target. I don't feel like doing all that walking. So be grateful for the little things. Just the girl who made your coffee this morning, she made your coffee just right. You didn't even have to question it. Be grateful for that. Be grateful for that. Living as if nothing is promised to you. Look around you, look inside yourself, appreciate the ordinary as the extraordinary. Notice beauty, nourish what you love. Nourish what you love. Nourish what you love. When you plant, you notice when you we were talking about what bearing good fruit, and a question was asked about what do you know about gardening. I don't know nothing about gardening, but I do know something about agriculture because I live in this area. And my dad was a labor contractor, would take people to work, worked in the fields. And on the weekend, I worked then with growing up to have a couple of dollars in my pocket. I worked in the field. So I know when you plant tomatoes, cucumbers, watermelons, it tells you how to cultivate the soil so the nutrients can. That's just like tossing a salad, getting all the ingredients together and make the best salad. You got to cultivate and till the grounds, and then after that, after you done pick that crop, you got to let that ground rest. You can't keep planting the same thing in the same field all the time. You got to let the field, you got to let it rest. Plant something different. Give that soil time enough to to um to get the nutrients back and be ready to receive the seeds that you're getting ready to plant. And when you do that, you're going to get a good harvest. You're going to get a good harvest. So you see, that's why they plant sometime in the spring, and then in the summer, in the winter, the snow is covered in some areas, and that snow is watering and nurturing that seed. And in the springtime, you start seeing the labor, you start seeing the seeds that you planted, you start seeing the little sprouts come up. And by harvest time again in November, you got to go out there and harvest all that wheat and all that corn and all that. I'm a parking lot pimp too. I don't have that handicap sticker yet, but I'm when I go to the doctor next month, I'm icing for a prescription. I'm icing for a prescription. And this time when I get me a tag, I'm gonna get me a handicap tag. So I can park in the handicap space as well. As well. And we have to live like, you used to hear this thing about live like this your last day living. We have to, because we don't know, it just might be our last day living. So don't live with regret. And whatever you're holding on to that's not adding to your life, that's not multiplying, but it's subtracting and dividing, and it's keeping you bound, and it's keeping you all shackled up, and it's burdensome to you, let it go. Life is so precious. Life is so precious. It's just a vapor. And they said, well, we was made from dirt. No, we wasn't. No, we wasn't made from dirt. If you go back in Genesis, it'll tell you exactly what we were made of. We was made from the fragments of dirt. That's why I say life is like a vapor. You throw some dirt up, and when you throw it up, you got that little cloud, that little, that little cloud of dust. And after a while, that dust settles. That's what we're made of. That's why we're not clean. We ain't gonna never be clean. I don't care if you bathe 5 times a day. Every time you bathe and look on that towel, you're gonna see. That's why my mama used to get at me all the time. All the time. I never bathed with the same bath cloth. I never drive with the same towel. And my mama, we had shelves full of towels. Every time we had to do laundry, had the laundry, hang our laundry out, nothing but towels and face cloth. And then it got to a point where I had to wash them towels and hang them towels out. But I still did it. I still do that to this day, because you could take a shower right now and you don't use the best, you don't use one of those African things to bathe, because that's what I use to bathe with, and dry off. Still gonna be some dust on there, still gonna be some dirt on there. So, y'all, just be grateful, be thankful, live your life with gratitude. A grateful heart is a contented heart. A contented heart is a simple heart, and a simple heart leads to a simplified life. We complicate things that don't even have to be complicated. Gratitude opens the door to simplicity. A person who is grateful for things they own will care for them and waste less energy seeking more things. They will enjoy the things that they already have. Be intentional. Be intentional. Gratitude will never be a result of your next purchase. Because you could buy it, don't mean you have to buy it. Because 9 times out of 10, you don't need it. You just want it. You just want it. So, Lord, I'm going to ask y'all today to pray for my friends and their family. Pray for my friends and their family. Why are you going to pray for the dead? I pray that she was welcome home. I pray that she heard the words, welcome, my good and faithful servant. I pray that for for Miss Florida husband, for Mr. Pickens. I pray that for Mother Patterson, and I pray that for my friend Tammy, for my Tammy. I pray that she was welcome home. And she heard those words, my good and faithful servant. And we have somebody new here this morning. Good morning, Rita Rose. I hope I'm saying it right. Charge it to my head and not my heart, because the ones who know I'm not good with names. Thank you for the message. I need to go and get breakfast made. You're welcome for being here. I hope you come back tomorrow at 7, Rita Rose. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And thank you for thank you for that, aka. And so this morning, y'all, I was feeling, I still feel a little sad. I can't really be sad because she wasn't a sad person. She wasn't a sad person. She wasn't a sad person. So I'm gonna feel the way that I always felt when I was in her presence. I'm a laugh at so I'm a laugh, you know, because that's what whenever I was around her, that's all we used to do. We used to laugh. And she was that person we could sit, even though we didn't sit in church close to each other, but after church, we would go out and eat and we would talk. And then she was one of those ones like on the third Friday of every month. There was some of us would get together. We no children, no husband. Everybody knew where we were on the Friday night, and sometimes we would go bowling, or sometimes we would even just go. If something was going on in church, we'll go to church, but afterward we'll go out and eat and we had fun, and they would always have like little parties at their house and stuff like that. And they like to entertain, and she liked to entertain and like to um travel and just travel, like to have fun. She lived life and she was doing what she liked to do. So that's the way I'm going to remember her. That is the way I'm going to remember her. So today, all I have today is what I have, and I'm just going to ask y'all to live a life of gratitude and live it abundantly. Live it like, I don't know when my time come, but when my time come, I'm going to need that rest. I'm going to need the rest. Don't wake up in the morning being mediocre. Don't have mediocre thoughts. Don't don't live shackled and bound and burdened down with the issues of life. And when life is life and life, right. Don't give up. Keep going because God gave you this day. So what you gonna do with it? Yeah, you gotta go to work. You gotta go to the doctor. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. But what's your attitude in going to work, going to life? Live a life of abundance. Live a life of gratitude. Live this life. Live today like you so glad God gave you this day. Live this. Live today like God. I'm glad today. Today is Thursday. Ooh, God, I got one more day, Lord. If you just let me get to tomorrow, let me get to tomorrow. I'm gonna live, but I'm gonna live this day today. I'm gonna live this day today. So that's what I said today. And look, the sun then came out. The sun then came out and the clouds has dissipated. The clouds gone. It's going to be a bright, sunshiny day. It's going to be a bright, sunshiny day, regardless of what's going on. And just like AKA always say it, AKA, 'cause I know you still here. Say what you always say. I need to write that down. I don't know why I'll never write it down. But in the words of AKA, smile. You got a beautiful smile. And smile. Look at the day that God gave you. What you look like being frowned, even where you are. I don't know where you are, but I'm in the sunny state of Florida, in the beautiful city. I'm gonna tell you where I live at, in the beautiful city of Cape Coral. 3, 4, 5, maybe four. Okay. Mm, mm, mm. I could walk to the bridge and I could sit by the water, or I can go to the park and just sit in the park and look at the water, watch the people out on their boats and what those other things is that they ride in while they out there on the water. Watch people do that. So come on, y'all, let's live this day and be grateful. Live it with the attitude of gratitude. And yes, that's right. Make sure you check on your strong friends, because you know what? We need encouraging too. And sometimes we just need a virtual hug, or we just need to hear somebody say, you know what? We need to ask that question. Are you okay? Are you okay today? How you feeling? Check on them strong friends. You know, the one you always run into with all your problems, with all your issues. Check on that person, because they need some encouragement today too. So make it a great day. Make it a great day and smile, because you have a beautiful smile. So in the meantime, in between time, if you see me in the street, holler at me. And if I see you first, you know I'm a holler. So when I holler, y'all holler back. Holla, and I'm out. Have the best day ever. And I love you, and ain't nothing you could do about it. I'm out. Peace out and deuces.